Alright, boys and girls, we are going to start a new IRA unit, which is us exploring fiction and non-fiction books. So first, I would like to talk about what a fiction book is and what a non-fiction book is. A fiction book always has a story that never really happened. And the story is made up or has made up characters. And the place where the story happens can also be made up, or it can be real. But most of the time, it's not a real place. And the characters aren't real. Most of the time, the characters are actually animals and that act like people. And we know that means that is fiction because it's not real. Because animals make noises, that's how they talk. But do they talk and have conversations like we do? No. So that is what a fiction book is. A non-fiction book is a book about real things. And it's a book that teaches you about facts and information about something. Sometimes the author has like labels within the book or diagrams or pictures or actual pictures. The illustrator gives more information in pictures than in a fiction book. So, you're all familiar with the fiction and nonfiction. So we're going to be reading this book today. This is called Caps for Sale, and I believe we have read this in class before, but we're going to read it, and then I'm going to get you to tell me what it is, fiction or nonfiction. I'm sure by looking at the book, you already know the answer. But we're going to read it, and we're going to find out if it's fiction or nonfiction. I also want to point out to you that this is it's similar to a folk tale. This type of book is similar to a folk tale. Most folk tales are fiction. So we're going to be reading this book, Caps for Sale. A tale of a peddler, some monkeys, and their monkey business. Told and illustrated by Esphyr Slobodkina. Alright, Caps for Sale. Once there was a peddler who sold caps, but he was not like any ordinary peddler. Carrying his wares on his back, he carried them on top of his head. First he had on his own checked cap, then a bunch of gray caps, then a bunch of brown caps, and then a bunch of blue caps, and then on the very top a bunch of red caps. He walked up and down the streets, holding himself very straight as to not upset his caps. As he went along, he called, "Caps, caps, caps for sale, 50 cents a cap." One morning, he couldn't sell any caps. He walked up the street and he called down the street calling, "Caps, caps, caps for sale, 50 cents a caps." But nobody wanted any caps that morning. Nobody wanted even a red cap. He began to feel very hungry, but he had no money for lunch. "I think I'll go for a walk in the country," said he. And he walked out of town slowly, so as not to upset his caps. So what does it mean by not to upset his caps? Yeah, he didn't want to make them fall. He walked for a long time until he came to a great big tree. "That's a nice place for a rest," thought he, and he sat down very slowly under the tree and leaned back little by little against the tree trunk so not to disturb the caps on his head. Then he put up his hand to feel if they were straight. First his own checked cap, then the gray cap, then the brown caps, then the blue caps, then the red caps on the very top. I wonder why the peddler has a checked cap. You think that's his own cap, so it like matches his outfit, huh? They were all there, so he went to sleep and he slept for a long time. When he woke up, he was refreshed and rested. But before standing up, he felt with his hand to make sure his caps were in the right place. All he felt was his own checked cap. What's wrong with what do you notice about the peddler in this picture? What do you wonder? What do you think he's doing? He's looking around, going, where are they? He looked to the right of him, no caps. He looked to the left of him, no caps. He looked in the back of him, no caps. He looked behind the tree, no caps. Then he looked up in the tree, and what do you think he saw? On every branch sat a monkey. On every monkey was a gray or a brown or a blue or a red cap. The peddler looked at the monkeys. The monkeys looked at the peddler. He didn't know what to do. Finally, he spoke to them. "You monkeys, you," he said, shaking his finger at them. "You give me back my caps." But the monkeys only shook their fingers back at him and said, This made the peddler angry as he shook both hands at them and said, "You monkeys, you give me back my caps." But the monkeys only shook both their hands back at him and said, Now he felt quite angry. He stamped his foot and he said, "You monkeys, you better give me back my caps." But the monkeys only stamped their feet back at him and said, So why are the monkeys stomping their feet? Yep, because he's stamping their feet and he was pointing his finger and they were pointing their fingers. And he was waving his hands at them and they were waving his hands back at him. So they're copying him. By this time, the peddler was really very angry. He stamped both his feet and shouted, "You monkeys, you give me back my caps!" But the monkeys only stamped both their feet back at him and said, At last, he became so angry that he pulled off his own cap, threw it on the ground, and began to walk away. What did they do? But then each monkey pulled off his cap. And all the gray caps and all the brown caps and all the blue caps and all the red caps came flying down out of the tree. So they were copying him the whole time, and he threw his cap down, so they threw the cap down. I bet he didn't realize that was going to happen, huh? So the peddler picked up his caps and put them back on his head. First his own checked cap, then the gray caps, then the brown caps, then the blue caps, and then the red caps on the very top. And slowly, slowly he walked back to town, calling, "Caps, caps, caps for sale, 50 cents a cap." The end. boys and girls, did you enjoy reading that book? I know we've read it before, but it's fun to read it again, huh? So, like I said, it's very similar to a folk tale, this book. And that means that there was a problem. So what was the problem at the very beginning of the book? The very beginning. He couldn't sell the calves, correct? And then he has two problems, right? So he couldn't sell his calves, and then what happens after he decides to take a nap under the tree? What was his next problem? Yep, his calves are gone. So, those monkeys sure are very nice, huh? What do they do when the peddler asks for his cap back? They ask for his caps back. Yep. They copy everything he does, huh? They copy everything he does, and then they go, so they're laughing and teasing him. But what happened? What was the very last thing that happened that the monkeys did? Like, why did they finally give him back his caps? Did they really hand it to him and say, here you go? No, they were copying what the peddler was doing, and he threw his cap down because he was so angry, so they threw the cap down because they were copying him. What do you think of the monkeys in this story, huh? I think they're naughty or silly monkeys, and they like to play tricks on people. I wonder if they have played any other tricks on people in the village or in the country. Okay, so now the question is this a fiction or non-fiction book? The author made this story up. So does that mean it's fiction or non-fiction? Fiction, correct. Do you really think this story could happen in real life? No. A man couldn't balance so many hats on his head, and monkeys wouldn't steal his hats and copy the peddler, or copy him. Huh. So that is a great example of a fiction story that I hope you enjoy. Tomorrow I will be reading another story to you, and we will be deciding if it's fiction or non-fiction.